How's it going, everyone? It's Mike with Curated Horology, back for another video by a watch enthusiast for other watch enthusiasts. So quick wrist check post, wearing the Seamaster 300M GMT 50th anniversary. You can probably get a lot of reflection, unfortunately. This has become one of my favorites here. So, but today's video, I want to talk about, I know there's a topic I see people post about in forums and different Facebook groups I'm in, and Teddy Baldassare did a video a couple of years ago, maybe, on the different types of watch collectors out there. I want to talk about not necessarily the types of collectors, we'll get into that a little bit, but more of the reasons why people collect. I'm sure, feel free to please add your comments or add your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure I'm not going to hit every reason out there why people collect. But I'll start with, I thought Teddy's video was a pretty good reference point. I think the title is, the 9 types of watch collectors or something like that. And he basically went through single brand enthusiasts, so people who, collect every type of Seiko watch or every type of, Hamilton khaki field model or whatever. The people who, I know people who only collect Rolexes, the trader slash flipper, so the person who's, constantly, they get a watch, but that watch doesn't satisfy them. They're constantly looking for the next watch. I think these categories apply to most type of collectors out there, not just watch enthusiasts, but, I know car enthusiasts like this. I know people who are into trading cards. I know people who are into, paintball markers. They're constantly flipping. They're constantly on to the next one. They never, hold on to the same watch or the same car for, more than a short period of time. When I had the opportunity to meet Wayne Carini a couple times, one of the times I asked him, "What's your favorite car?" And I'll never forget his response was the next one. So for some people, it's just they get their kicks, their jollies out of the thrill of the hunt, and that's really what, where their passion stems from, versus just collecting and holding. Then number 3 in Teddy's video is the tool watch enthusiast. By the way, I'll post a link to his video in the comments, just so I'm giving credit where due. The tool watch enthusiast, so the enthusiast who wants to have, who uses their watches as tools and wants a specific tool for every job. By the way, if you hear some sounds in the background, my phone is set up right next to, I'm on baby duty today, so wife is out running errands, so got the little guy right here next to the camera. Anyhow, tool watch enthusiast, the value buyer, so the enthusiast who will only buy value watches. And I actually just saw someone today in one of the groups I'm in. They had a collection of, call it 60, 65 watches, and they're saying, you won't see, none of these watches are above $500 or whatever it was, and they were talking about their passion for finding value watches. It's not about the money, which I totally agree with. It's not about the money. So some people who just love the value that you get from some of these micro brands and brands like Seiko and so forth. Then you have number 5, the asset slash investor, the person who's constantly, I'm going to buy a watch, I'm going to put it away in the safe, I'm going to make sure that it doesn't get scratched up or dinged up. and hopefully it'll be worth something someday. Or the people who ask, if I want to invest in watches. I tend to take the opinion that most seasoned watch collectors take, which is that watches are not assets, or that I shouldn't say they're not assets, they're not investments. So if you're looking to get a return on your investment, there's other asset classes and other more wise investments to make. Then number 6, there's the minimalist, which, funny enough, this is something I really admire when I see the people who have, their perfect 3-watch collection, or even 2-watch collection. For me, that I don't know if that's quite enough. I think if I really wanted to minimize my collection down, I would have to have probably a 5-watch collection. I think I'd be able to get by with that. But as I dive deeper into my collection over the next few videos, you'll kind of see that I'm in a position where I don't think I will ever be able to pare everything down to 5 watches. 15 or so watches alone are sentimental pieces that were gifted to me, and I just would never be able to part with them. So I admire the minimalists because I know I would love to be one of them. Deep down, I know it never will happen. Number 7, there's the vintage enthusiast. And as you're kind of going through these different, categories and types of watch collectors, you probably see a lot of crossover. I know I do myself. So I have an aspect, and I'll get into this in perhaps one of the next upcoming videos, but one whole segment of my collection is watches that I want to experience, but I don't plan to keep for a long term. I never want to be one of these people who has 300 or 400 watches, but there's so many watches that I want to experience, and I want to experience, but maybe just not hold on to forever, because then I would eventually become one of those people with 400 watches, and you just can't enjoy all of them. So I do have a segment of my collection just for watches that I buy, I enjoy for a period of time, whether some it may be a couple weeks, some it may be a couple months, some it may be a couple years, and then I move them along to make room for something else. But I also see a lot of the vintage enthusiast in my collecting. I would say my collection is predominantly vintage watches. Then you have number 8, the obsessive over independence, and number 9, the enthusiast starter pack, which is the person who gets all of they need to check all of the enthusiast boxes in their collection. So whether it's the Seiko Sports 5 GMT, the Seiko Speed Timer, the Khaki Field Auto, the Seiko Alpinist, or even getting into the higher end watches, the person who has and I see a lot of these. Someone will have a 10-slot watch box, and there's a Rolex Submariner, there's a Rolex Datejust, there's a Rolex Explorer, there's a Breitling Navitimer, there's a Omega Speedmaster, or an Omega Seamaster, and there's a Cartier Tank or Cartier Santos, and there's just the watches that these are the buddy, all right, pal. But so anyhow, the enthusiast starter pack, and actually, funny enough, I found myself going down that path. I believe it was in the prior video. I'd shared my watch journey, beginning my collection around 2010, 2011, buying a bunch of cheap watches, falling out of love with them, and kind of getting out of the hobby altogether for a couple of years, and then getting back into it in 2023, when I when I decided that I was going to start collecting again, and I wanted to be more how should I put it? I wanted to be more intentional about my collection the second time around. And but what I found myself doing, I immediately, I said, I was after a Hamilton khaki field auto, a Seiko Sports 5 GMT, and because I think they had just come out maybe the year before, and I was going to get a Seiko speed timer. And those are the three kind of watches that I wanted to start out my collection with. And oh boy, well, I let's just say I went to my local watchmaker, who I have a nice relationship with now, but I went originally intending to buy the Seiko Sports 5 GMT. He didn't have that in stock, but he said I have another GMT in place, and that was the 50th anniversary Omega Seamaster GMT here. So I figured, and the three watches I intended to get were, you know, near the price of this one, so I went down a different path. But I almost found myself in that enthusiast starter pack category. So, you know, I think Teddy got a pretty good handle on all the different types of collectors. Maybe there's another one or two that could be, you know, added to the list. So, you know, any other types of collectors out there, feel free to add them down in the, you know, in the comment section. But what I really wanted to get into today was the reason why we collect. And from what I've observed and what I've seen, again, not just in the watch hobby, but in the car hobby, in the trading card hobby, and the, you know, in the collector hobby, the paintball hobby. I mean, any hobby out there where there's something to collect, I think you're going to see these four main reasons for collecting. But again, as always, please, in the comments, let me know your thoughts. If maybe I missed a category or two, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But from what I gathered, the four main types of categories are, number one, there's the person who just likes knowing that they have it, and that's it. They don't use it, they don't enjoy it, they don't share it, they just need to know that they have it. In the car world, there's if you've been into cars for any amount of time, you've probably read the articles or seen the videos online of, you know, people who have a graveyard of cars out on their farm, you know, with just, you know, trees growing through the engine bay. I mean, the cars have just been sitting for so long, and people will go up to them asking, hey, can I buy this car from you? Can I buy? And they don't want to sell. And it's like, well, what are you doing here? That you know, you're not, clearly not enjoying these cars. You're never going to get around to restoring them. These cars are rotting here in a field, but just knowing that they have them is what makes these type of collectors happy. I know motorcycle enthusiasts who just, you know, they have a bunch of amazing bikes and they just sit in a garage or sit in a basement, and just knowing that they have them, they're never going to ride them. I know a collector in particular who doesn't even have his motorcycle license, but just knowing that they have them. Record collectors who don't even have a record player, but just knowing that they have an expensive rare record, they don't enjoy it. They don't do anything with it. And I think there are watch collectors like this too. Maybe someone who just, you know, leaves something in a safe or a safety deposit box, or just knowing that they have it, but not sharing it, not wearing it and enjoying it. You know, that's enough for them. When I look closely at my collection, and we'll get into my collection a little more in upcoming videos, but I would say there's probably definitely a couple watches that, you know, I keep for sentimental reasons. I don't really wear them. I don't really enjoy them or share them, which maybe is why, a little bit of why I created this channel, because I'd like to start sharing my collecting journey with other enthusiasts. But I'm the point is I'm not taking them out, putting them on my wrist, wearing them, as often as maybe I should, and but knowing that I have them is the you know is I guess what's important to me. Anyhow, so that's the first reason why I see people collecting. Second reason why I think people collect is, for the clout, for the, the flex of the watch. And, I probably the example that stands out most in my mind to me is when I was skiing. Well, I snowboard. My wife skis, but we were at the mountain one day, and we took a ride up in the gondola, and we were with one of the gentlemen in the gondola with us. There was a couple other people. There was one guy with two kids, maybe his two sons, and a couple people in the car. And this one guy, the one guy in the gondola, just lifts his sleeve up and looks at his watch, which nobody knew what the guy was wearing. He had his ski jacket over it, but he purposefully lifts up his ski jacket sleeve, and he looks at the watch, and he says, and then he flips his wrist and shows the guy with the two kids in the gondola, and it says, "Is this the time you have? Just because it's a Rolex doesn't mean it keeps good time." Or whatever he said, something along those lines. But just something to let everybody in the gondola know that he was wearing a Rolex, right? Or you'll go to the car shows and you'll see the guys who, they have their car there at the car show, but then they'll have to have a poster next to their car with all the cars that they have at home. Because you need to. Or you'll be talking to somebody about, a particular car, and they'll say, I have this car at home, and I have this car at home, and I have this car at home, and I have this car at home. But they like telling people, they like it to be known that they have it, and they go out of their way above and beyond to let it be known that they have this watch or this car or this fill in the blank. And that's what makes them happy about it. Then there's the people who they do get their enjoyment out of using whatever it is they're collecting. So they do get enjoyment out of taking their watch out of the watch box and wearing it. I hope most of us are in this category. Every watch, I'm looking at my watch box now, gearing up for the next video. Every watch in this box here, I would be happy to, take out and put on my wrist and wear out and enjoy. So I hope most of us are in this category, but these people get. I look at cars and, yes, I like going to the occasional Cars and Coffee. Yes, I enjoy taking my car out of the garage and washing it and cleaning it. But I get the most enjoyment out of my car when I'm out there driving it and using it as intended. So I think that's the, a third reason why we collect. So as a recap, we have category one was the people who they're happy just knowing they have it. They don't need to enjoy it. They don't need to share it with other people. They just know that they have it. Second category is the person who needs to flaunt what they have and make sure everyone knows that they have it. They love flexing what they have and sharing what they have with other people, and will go sometimes out of their way to do so. And then the third is the people who get enjoyment. They collect because they actually get enjoyment out of enjoying what it is that they collect. And then the fourth category, and I've been finding myself in this category a lot more since I got into BMWs, and I'm trying to find myself more in this category by joining different watch groups and trying to attend more watch meetup events. But the people who collect because of the other people who share that commonality with them. And when I look back at, I use the car example because I think there's so many commonalities between people who are watch enthusiasts and people who are car enthusiasts, and I see a lot of crossover. But when I was in the and I still enjoy American muscle cars, but when that's all that I enjoyed, and those are the only shows that I went to, I saw a lot of people who had to share everything they have. You had to know, you would walk away from a show knowing all the cars that they had, both at the show and at home in their garage. And there's a lot of people who just like knowing that they have it. They don't drive the car. It sits in a climate-controlled garage. And there's, a lot of people who get their enjoyment out of taking their car out and driving it and enjoying it. But when I got into the BMW world, the camaraderie of, the enthusiasts that I developed relationships with, and, they'd come over to my garage and help me, put a heater core in my E28, or, help me change the PCV system on my E39. Or we, during COVID, we'd, message each other and, get together to go on drives, socially distance or whatever, of course. But, we'd go out and just do these fun drives just to get out of the house and just to, share our love and passion for cars out on the road. And, I've met some great friends through the car hobby, and I'm fortunate in that I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to build great friendships and relationships with people through the watch hobby. And I think ultimately when I look back at all of my different hobbies and the things that I collect, I think the commonality, yes, I get my enjoyment out of using these pieces of machinery or equipment as intended, but I think when I look at it, I really get my enjoyment from the hobby out of the relationships that I've built and how my life has been enriched through the people that I meet along the way. So, I think above all else, that is the reason why I collect. And, even if I sold all the cars in the collection or sold all the watches in my collection, I wouldn't. But if I were to do that, I think I would still find myself going to, car events and going to watch meetups and, and just trying to, continue building those relationships. So, so a little bit of a longer video today, but those are my 4 reasons that I've gathered as to why collectors collect, why watch collectors collect. So if you have anything that, any maybe categories that I missed, or want to chime in on, your thoughts for today's topic, please do so in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and, I look forward to continuing to share my watch journey with all of you. And, of course, as always in the comments, let me know what you thought of today's video, and if you have any topics that you would like me to discuss in a future video. So, thanks for watching.